All right, we're live. I'm hoping this one goes okay because it's heaps windy in Sydney, and I'm kind of like, well, Australian internet, right? Hell knows that the wind will blow the internet over. So we'll see how we go. Um, yeah, so I'm actually set up for a change in front of the white door with the tripod and all that. Who's that? Hey, Danny. Sorry, I just took my glasses off and then I can't see the screen anymore. Um, yeah, hello. So I didn't live stream last week, but I'm all set up now. Got everything organized. The only thing I didn't get organized is I forgot to have lunch. So I've got this bread roll. Hey, Charles as well. I got this bread roll that Mum made like just today. We've got these fancy new ovens. I haven't shown you guys our new kitchen, but we'll do that one day. Yeah, so I've got a bread roll and I've got tomato soup from a sachet. So it is going to be another one of those live streams where I'm constantly being distracted by the need to eat. But it's been kind of a busy day. I've been getting stuff done. Yay. And that's probably also why I'm all like, "Hey guys, yeah, energy." Because it took me a while to drag my butt out of bed, which is pretty normal for me. But once I did and got dressed, I did some vocal stuff. So I didn't do a run through of my set. I've got this performance coming up on August 18th at the Townie in Newtown for anyone who happens to be in Sydney. Hey! Pour some poetry as well. Awesome. Yeah, no, I didn't do a full run through of the set. I was just like playing with my voice. I warmed up a little bit and then was doing a run through and was playing with like this sort of growl. I usually do false chord growl and I've been playing with other methods, but now I've sort of worked out how to get more of a low power fry grit kind of thing. And then I was like, oh, you can actually mix in a bit of the false chord tone that I usually do, so I was messing with that. And then because I was thinking, oh, if I do false chord technique, I run out of air, and that's not good because this particular song has long sections of growling more than my other songs. Like my other songs, from my asexuality EP, the growled bits are these sort of short bursts mostly. But this one has like these long bits where I'm actually telling the story in growls, so I need to be a bit more careful about how I'm breathing. And that's why I was looking into different technique. I was like, oh, seeing as I can do this now, should I try and use it on stage? So I was playing with that because the other technique uses less air. I just don't think it sounds as good. It sounds less pure. It gets some of my real voice into it. And I don't know. There's this particular tone it keeps getting, and I can get rid of it sometimes, but I'm not consistent enough at it. So I'm like, oh, I don't know that I really want to use that yet. I think I need to work on it some more. But I was playing with that, and then while I was playing with it, I was just singing my new song a cappella, and I realized actually, as I do more and more practice with growls again, even with my false chord growling, I am getting better at air management and being able to hold the notes longer. So I'm just getting better at doing the whole thing anyway. So maybe I don't need to use another technique. Like I was singing in the kitchen with my dogs going, "What are you doing?" And I could actually pull it off quite well, like sort of singing and dancing around. So I think it's just like I do need to get more fit, and I think music's the only thing that's going to give me the incentive to improve my fitness. But I'm already seeing some results there just from this determination to do this performance okay. So that's an achievement for the day. So I was doing all that singing, got my voice going. I was a little bit like, maybe I shouldn't be doing all this right before I'm about to live stream for 2 hours, because you shouldn't be overusing your voice. That's if you talk for too long, like even just normal talking, if you talk for too long, you can put a bit of wear and tear on your vocal cords. And I've been growling, so I was like, maybe that wasn't the best idea. But because I growl safely, seems to be okay, and I didn't overdo it. I didn't do the more difficult songs that do strain my voice a little bit if I get it wrong. I just focused on the one set of techniques and the one song, so seemed to be okay. And then after that, I filmed another Free Space 2 thing, which is going to be part 5. I haven't even finished editing part 4, oh my god. So I was doing that. I've also uploaded Another video, which I think you guys will hate, I'll put it up on Sunday because I feel like Sunday's a day that people won't be watching stuff anyway. But just in case, I've got a video coming on Sunday that's a little bit shit. But I filmed it, so it's going up and I don't give a shit. Yeah, and then so today, what have I done? I dragged my butt out of bed, got changed, did some vocal stuff, did some free space, which is probably why I'm all like, ah! Because I've just been like, it had a bit of an anticlimax, but there was a bit of the shooting going on, and so I'm just, the energy. Yeah, and then now I'm like, shit, I have to live stream, and that's why I've got food, because, yeah, I forgot to have lunch in between all of this, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna be like, between and food and all that, so yeah, I should probably take my gloves off so I can eat the bread. It's homemade bread. My mum made the bread for those of you who've just turned up. Yeah, because we've got a fancy new kitchen I still haven't shown you, and mum's really getting good at making this bread, and it's really tasty. Anyway, so that's a summary of my day so far. And what else has been going on? And yeah, I'm sorry, my content's been a little bit all over the place, but I'm not a real YouTuber. I'm a chaos YouTuber, just doing my vlogs and so on. So you never know what you're gonna get. And then anytime I ask, hey guys, what content do you want me to make? Most of the time the response is just do whatever you want to do. So that's what I do. But yeah, oh wow. A little bit of bread. Dip it in my tomato soup. It's just like crappy tomato soup from a sachet with boiling water. So nothing special here. Anyway, so what's been going on? Nothing. I'm really sorry. I'm so hungry. And I only realized that with 10 minutes before the live stream. Dear oh dear. It's like, if I get my head sorted on one thing, there's always something else I'm going to be forgetting, and it's just like, I thought I was doing so well today. Anyway, this one's a bit chewy, so that makes it even harder. Alright, so, what is it? Today's Friday. Oh yeah, Mikey had a bit of drama. He fell over in the shops. I wasn't there, but then he had to, he fell over and he hurt his finger and he had to go to the hospital and just get x-ray just to check it all. And the thing about Mikey is when something like that happens, because he doesn't understand what's going on. If you don't know, Mikey's my disabled brother. He doesn't really understand what's going on, so you can't really, what they would have wanted to do is strap his fingers together and put a splint on it, but because he doesn't understand, he would just be really annoyed by that. So yeah, we just gotta be careful about his finger, and he'll be better in a month or so. It'll be fine. It's just, yeah, there's a little bit of drama for the week. I think Mum got a bit stressed, but everything's good. Actually it was on his right hand, and he's right-handed, so now he's doing everything with his left hand. He just has that instinctive idea that I shouldn't do anything with the hand that's injured. So yeah, but he does surprisingly well with the left-handed stuff. It looks so natural, and he's just eating with his left hand, and I'm like, oh, is he actually left-handed? No, I'm pretty sure he always uses his right hand. It's just, yeah, he might as well be ambidextrous at this point. So that's an interesting thing. Yeah. What else has been happening? Well, Hope, I took him to the vet for his annual vaccination and also did check up, and he's doing fine. He's actually been he's completely bounced back. He can't even remember he was ever injured. That last vet visit, a bit iffy about it, just because I feel like the vet, her knowledge, we saw the most experienced vet, and I feel like her knowledge of anxiety type stuff isn't completely updated, because she was sort of saying things about, you should live stream your gaming on Twitch. Oh, well, see, the problem with live streaming gaming, my computer's not good enough. I do need to get a new computer at some point, because Windows 7's going out, and this computer is just getting too old. But at the moment, it's all I've got. So that's why I've been doing screen captures, because that's all I can manage. I don't think it would be able to do that and get it onto the internet. So unfortunately, yeah. I'm really sorry about the eating. Yeah, no, I just like, you know, the only reason I can screen capture this game, I think, is because it's such an old game. I've been able to screen capture Free Space 2, also Age of Mythology I can screen capture, but those are both really old games, like CD-ROM games. So it's a different thing, whereas if I tried to live stream anything a bit more hardcore, wouldn't happen. And then, yeah, trying to get my computer to do so many things at once, I don't know that it'd work. Like when I'm doing screen capture of Free Space 2, I try and close every window. I think maybe this time, oh no, actually I did close it. So I tried today I tried to screen capture Free Space 2 while I had Google Chrome running in the background, uploading the video. I'm going to put it live on Sunday. And yeah, it was struggling. So I was like, okay, I better just like cancel the upload because it picks up where it left off, you know, when I go back to re-upload it. So I just canceled the upload and then I was able to play it. There were a few jitters though, so I don't know what my computer was doing in the background, but yeah, mainly because that I use OBS Studio to screen capture, and that is a little bit too difficult for my computer. Like my computer does struggle with that, screen capturing anything. So then to add a game on top of it, good luck. And then what, I would have to connect to the internet and do whatever Twitch does. I don't actually know much about Twitch either, so I've got to like investigate that. Oh no, don't fall into my, it's about to fall into my cup. So, a bit difficult. Maybe when I get a new computer, if I can get a good enough one, I might do more of that kind of stuff. It's just like, yeah, what I've currently got, my technology is no good. Unfortunately. Also, like, I don't know, what's the reason for live streaming on Twitch rather than just YouTube where I'm already set up? I don't know, like, does Twitch like dodgy gamers like me? I'm not very good. I've just, like, because I'm not really a huge gamer, I know about Twitch, but I've never done anything on it, so, yeah, I don't really know. Update parts of my PC. Yeah, my PC's from 2011, though. I think I looked it up, and I'm pretty sure it's running DDR3 RAM, so, like, even the RAM's outdated now. Yeah, so I think it'd be a little bit tricky to find the parts, and then it's just like, it's just not coping, you know. Plus with Windows 7 going out, I mean, when they were doing the free upgrade to Windows 10, I did try that, but it didn't really work out for me. It changed a bunch of settings, and I was just like, yeah, no. So I rolled it back to Windows 7 from a disk image. And I've just not wanted to upgrade it. I just feel like I need a new computer because, you know, 2011. So what, I plan to keep this computer for maybe another 6 months and it'll be, what, 9 years old then? Yeah, I don't feel like it's worth upgrading the parts at this point. And it's too much stress to try and figure out which bits it needs. I just want to get like something new because the other thing is I want to change what video editing software I'm using. Oh my god, what happened to the sun? Just go behind a cloud. Excuse me while I also just deal with my nose. Oh my god. Yeah, well, okay, Sydney's weather is a little bit crazy at the moment. Yeah, but so, what was I saying? The updating and blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, no, video editing software. Right now, I use 2 different video editing softwares. If it's just gonna be a basic video where I don't need to do very much, I will use Windows Movie Maker, which is not even, I think it might be the version that I had on Windows XP, and I've just figured out how to bring it across the years. Like, it's an old version of Windows Movie Maker before they made it shit. And there was also another shit version that I didn't like. So yeah, it's very basic, struggles with MP4 files, but if you just want to do like 2 cuts, easy, and it's quick, and it makes small file sizes, we're good. The other software I use is HitFilm Express. I'm using the 2017 version because I think that might be the last one where it still supported Windows 7. Yeah, well, because it's like it's winter in Sydney and it's heaps windy today and it's been really dry, so I've been trying to like anytime I brush my hair, I get heaps of static and it's annoying. So I've been trying to straighten my hair, but then it just gets like annoying anyway. So yeah, just because it's so dry, not much I can do about it. So. Or I suppose I could tease it up intentionally and then you wouldn't know if it was meant to look like that or not. Um, Anyway, so what was I saying? Hit Film Express 2017, last one that works on Windows 7, maybe. And it's good. It's just the thing that annoys me the most about it is the audio handling. Because I've done audio engineering and I understand that side of things. Sometimes there's stuff I want to be able to do with the audio, but this program just doesn't have the functionality, and that annoys me. It's cute that it has you know, you can do fancy effects and so on. And so maybe like I would keep using it for that if I ever use fancy effects, which I don't. Also, the way it handles text is annoying. There's lots of little annoying things about Hit Film Express. Yeah. So anyway, I want to try out, what was it? Spectre Sound Studios did a review of it. It was DaVinci Resolve. I want to have a go at DaVinci Resolve, but the thing is, you need 16 gigabytes of RAM minimum, and I've only got 12. Yes, I got 12 gigabytes of RAM back in 2011 because I was like, I want this computer to last, and it has lasted, so yay me for future-proofing. But yeah, no, 16 gigabytes is the minimum, whereas the recommended is 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm just like, oh my god. I don't know if there's a way to get that much into my computer. Maybe you could just squeeze it in. But yeah, so that's the situation with me and computers. What was I talking about before? I got heaps distracted. I was on some other tangent and then I guess I'll eat while I try and think of it. Eating my own hair, oh no. Anyway, so yeah, I feel like I just need to get a new PC, be done with it. But I haven't decided exactly what to get. I feel like I should wait until closer to when I want to get it because, you know, technology is always coming out. There's always something new, and I feel like researching stuff now, 6 months out before I want to get it, yeah, who knows? There might be some other reviews that come out, so it's not really worth it at this point. Sorry, there's bread stuck in my teeth. I know that if I do just upgrade parts of my current PC, it'd probably be cheaper because, you know, it's using outdated parts that, you know, might just be hanging around somewhere someone wants to get rid of. But I just feel like it's too much hassle. I don't like having to mess around with stuff more than I need to. And I feel like upgrading parts are just like, you know, I just want to buy something and have it work. I'm not really a tinkerer. I've gone through phases of tinkering, but right now I kind of just don't give a fuck. And yeah, I kind of just want a shiny new computer. Problem is money, and I got to work out what's my budget, how much can I afford to spend on a new computer. Yeah, I'm glad I've decided not to go with one of those Windows Surface things because they are so expensive and already outdated. I install Windows 7 on my computer and not like Windows 10. Yeah, when I do get a new computer, I'm a little bit like, oh god, then I'm going to be stuck with Windows 10 and I've got to research how to turn off all the annoying things that it does. Like, it, you know, I think it does advertising and shit, and I gotta figure out how to turn all that off. But Windows 7, once they stop with the security updates, 10 is a pain, yeah. But once they stop with security updates for Windows 7, you know, I mean, I'm kind of a cautious person. I'm pretty risk averse. I mean, I do some stuff that's a bit out there, but for the most part, I'm a risk averse kind of person, so I don't want to have to, oh my god, why am I always sniffling when I get on the fucking camera? It's fucking weather. I don't have any advertising issues with Windows 10. If you have pop-ups or something, then it's a virus. No, I think like when you go to the home button and then it brings up all these tiles and then it tries to advertise like little games and shit to you. And I don't know, I've seen screenshots of it. I want to turn off all that garbage. I don't need it. I don't want it. Yeah, it's that kind of stuff that I'm concerned about. But yeah. That's so I need to figure out how to do that because I don't really know Windows 10. Like, sometimes I help out Mikey with his computer, which is Windows 10, and everyone else here I think is Windows 10, except Mum. I think Mum's on Windows 7, but she's gonna go upgrade that to Windows 10 because her computer is way newer than mine, so it'll be fine. But yeah, Windows 7. As much as I would like, you just right click and choose on pin. Okay. Cool, well that's good to know for when I actually get there. Yeah, for those of you who are wanting Windows 7, like just because they're getting rid of security updates, I wouldn't recommend it. Just like, I mean, I know there are people who still use Windows XP, but I feel like in this climate, you know, there's the whole tech thing, like tech's become so important that a lot of those hackers, they have incentive to exploit whatever loopholes they find within the system. And oh, hello Hopi, did you want a bit of bread? They actually have incentive to exploit loopholes and all that, so I feel like they will do it more than maybe they would have in the past. You want the bread? Yeah, no, he's not sure about that. Oh, he spat it out. Hope's a little bit anxious because it's so windy and so all the windows keep rattling, and you know, we live in an old style house, so it just sort of creaks and whatever. You know, one of those Federation houses. I don't know, I'm not really that excited by, you know, history and heritage, so whatever, but yeah, that's the kind of house we are. Having all versions of Windows. Yeah. Yeah, so it's better to be on Windows 10 just because support's ongoing. Speaking of, there was some recent stuff. I saw. I've used Windows XP for the longest. Oh, well done. That's an achievement. Yeah, no. If you are running Windows, well, actually, I think it's on Windows 7 as well. If you're running anything from Windows 7 onwards, and your computer is from 2012 onwards, you should update your computer like right away because they found this huge loophole in some. I don't understand exactly what it was, but it's something to do with the processor. If you're running Intel and possibly AMD processors. My computer is from 2011 though, so I mean, I've been updating anyway, but it's not really an issue for me. Missed it by 1 year. But yeah, no, there's some interesting loopholes that's been built into some of these things, and that was at a processor level. So you just never know what kinds of exploits they're gonna find in these things. So it's just you're better off updating if your computer can handle it, which I don't feel like mine really can. It's struggling as it is to just capture the damn screen. Oh my god. I'm sorry, I'm still eating. Yeah, computers. I'm not looking forward to how much I might need to spend on that, but hey, I'm working every Wednesday in September because it's growing season for bonsai. So yeah, at least I'll have a little bit of extra money, but it's not really gonna, I don't know, I just need to save more money, but there's not enough money coming in to save, if you know what I mean. But I'll figure something out. I do have some savings, so I can just sort of dig into that. Yeah. Oh, well. But yeah, bonsai, I've got a, oh my god, the growing season has come early to Sydney, so my little bonsai stash, and all the Chinese elms are budding, and my maple, I was a little bit concerned about my maple after I did all that heavy wiring on it. I think it went into shock for a bit and sort of went dormant early instead of when winter actually came. But I can see it's growing again, so I think it'll be fine. I'll let it sprout some leaves, and then when it's looking good, I think I need to repot it. But yeah, no, everything's going. I've got so many cuttings as well. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them all. I do have a lot of pots from bonsai that died in the past that I can plant them into. So, well, maybe I'll do like a landscape setting or something, especially with some of the Australian plants, and sort of try and recreate a bit of Aussie bush. I don't know. But yeah, no, everything's growing early. It's August and already everything's coming back to life. So, because we did have some really warm days, and yeah, that means there's lots of work for my collection at home, but also at my job, working on bonsai. So a lot of customers' trees coming in, and then also the nursery stock. There's just going to be a lot of pruning to do, I think, and it'll be busy. And oh my god, I still want to show you that weird one that I've done. Oh my god, I've got so many videos I want to film, and it's just like last month was so stressful. Hang on. I feel so much pressure to chew faster because I'm live. Yeah, no, I've got so many videos that I want to do, and last month, especially the second half of last month, was just so stressful for me, especially with Hope and his issues. But then it's like other things happening in life, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't deal with this shit. So, I think it's just been really hard to get my head straight to film regular videos. And especially like when I want to make a video about a particular topic, instead of a rambling one where I'm just complaining about life, if I want to make one about a specific topic, I do feel like I need notes just so that, because I go on tangents a lot. I feel like I need to have some notes so that I know where I'm going with a video, and I just haven't had the focus to sit down and write those notes. I want to have one computer just for the internet, making music and other stuff on a computer that has no contact to the internet. Yeah, that's what I do with my, so I've got two computers. The one that I'm talking about replacing is the PC. The Mac, I've got a MacBook Pro from 2009, so that one's 10 years old, but I only use it for music now. And that was the main thing I bought it for, but when I was at uni, I did take it to uni just because it's portable and that makes it easy. But yeah, it just does music, so it's still running Snow Leopard. Wouldn't want to connect it to the internet with that. But Snow Leopard makes it ridiculously stable, so the only reason it would ever crash is if I had too many tracks and plugins going on at once, and my music isn't that complex, so yeah, I rarely have any issues with it, and it just works really well. On my PC is where I do my video editing and my Photoshop and pretty much everything else, all the internet. Yeah, I'm hoping when I get a new computer, I'll be able to transfer that Photoshop license across, because I do not want Creative Cloud. I cannot afford a monthly subscription. So if there's any issue and I can't transfer it across, then maybe I'll keep my current computer just for Photoshop and that kind of thing. But I would ideally want it all on a new machine. Partly because a new machine will be more powerful, but also because if I'm getting a new machine so that I can do better video editing, I might as well do all my graphics work on there as well. Especially when like you're in the middle of a video and you're like, oh, I need this graphic right now. Being able to go straight to Photoshop instead of having to go to another computer, it's so much easier. Yeah. I mean, I suppose in some sense you could do like have a graphics and video computer, but because of the Windows 7 security issues, I'm not going to be able to use my current computer as the internet-only computer. So, and I can't afford to get a gazillion computers. So, yeah, that's the situation there. It's kind of hard trying to figure out all this stuff with budgeting. I really just need to get another job, but I haven't figured out what to do yet. Such a pain in the butt. Just been looking, have that job alert set up. Maybe the search terms aren't good enough or something. Like maybe I need to broaden it. It's just like, how do I tell this job search website exactly what my personality is and what kinds of jobs I could handle? It's really difficult to set up those searches and figure out what's going to work best for you. So, yeah. I don't know, I need to find something. It's like the bonsai job's good. It's just like, one, it's not frequent enough. It's maximum of once a week. So, you know, some weeks I don't go to shift. And then also, because I'm so small, it's very difficult on my body. So I actually saw my GP earlier this week, and I, you know, mentioned to her, like, it is difficult on my body, and, you know, I've tried to do push-ups and stuff, but it's not really helping. And I think it's just like my body type, especially being a chick, right? You know, testosterone is one of those things that helps you put on muscle, and I don't have that. I've got too much of the girl stuff in me. So, yeah, the picking up stuff, there's some stuff I just can't pick up, and I just get the boss to do that. And then also just hovering over the plants, sometimes at awkward angles, because you're trying to see around different branches, and especially when like you get a really weird bonsai in, and the design is just like, what were they thinking? Or maybe they just let it grow and it's like gone in all these twisty, I've seen some very interesting bonsai come in. Yeah, and when you're trying to navigate through all that, and you have to like, what's going on here, and trying to get a good angle to see where you should be cutting, yeah, it gets tricky. Or like where you should be wiring. And oh my god, some of those thicker gauges of wire, holy crap, it's hard to bend. Can't you look in the daily newspaper for a job? Not really. It's a really bad place to find jobs. Hardly anything turns up in the local papers. These days, a lot of the advertising for jobs is done online, so that's why I've signed up to get the job alerts, because, you know, I'm not going to get those job alerts in a to use turntables for the bonsai. I don't. I probably should. Maybe I should ask my boss to get me one. You know, we've got some on the shelf. Could probably get that. But, no, I just sort of turn it on the table and make this sound. I don't think the turntables would make much difference, though. It's like, you know, you're trying to see under a branch or all this kind of stuff. It's not about turning the bonsai. Like, if you turned it, you still wouldn't be able to see it. You've got to actually, like, get the branches and move them apart, and sort of like, you know, where am I looking up, or am I looking over it, and all this kind of stuff. It's yeah, not as simple as just getting a turntable. Yeah, because like I just turn it around if I need to. Oh my god, where does the sun keep going? Sydney's weather today. Anyway, I think my tomato soup's getting a bit cold. I really should try and eat before I do these things. I just got so carried away with it. Boroscope. Yeah, like a bonsai periscope. Is that what you're saying? I'm heaps confused now. Oh man. What else has been going on? Yesterday would have been my recovery day. A flexible. Oh, okay, flexible camera. Yeah, right. Well, yeah. I don't know if that would help, because I think it would be very difficult, and just I think it'd be very difficult to like, you know, the camera might get in the right spot, but I've still got to make sure I know where I'm going, you know, from the other end of it. Oh my god, I just like look at myself eating at the camera, and I'm like, oh my god, that's kind of ugly. But yeah, no, it's so fluffy on the inside. Like the outside of this bread roll is like pretty crispy, and then on the inside it's really fluffy. So yeah, it's really tasty. Oh my god, my mum's gotten really good with using those ovens. They're like fancy ovens that have little steam things going on. We use them to inspect turbine blades and jet engines. Oh yeah. I think it'd be a bit extreme for bonsai, wouldn't it? No, it's just like, because of the way I'm placing my body, and like, especially when I'm getting concentrated onto things, I think I just sort of lose awareness of what my body's doing, and then that's when I get, you know, it get really tense and I have to stretch out afterwards. Milk bread. I don't know how she's made this, because she keeps changing her recipe. Oh my god, I'm getting crumbs everywhere. She keeps changing the recipe and has just been tweaking it, and yeah, I don't know, but it's really good. Mm. Oh man. Yeah, no, I should show you the. I do that all the time when I'm working on models. I have to remember to keep my back straight. Yeah. No, for a while I was getting headaches the day after bonsai, and my brother Dave, who's like, he knows a lot about physio type stuff, he's like, yeah, probably when you're lifting, you're tensing your head too much, and so just try not to do that. So I've been making an effort, and I didn't get a headache really yesterday. So yay me. And I also stretched out better yesterday, whereas I think last week I had a really sore neck the day after. No, last week. It would have been 2 weeks ago because I didn't do it the last week. Oh my god, I'm so confused about time because like my life is so uneventful that I lose track of time because every day is almost the same. Yeah, no, I got a bit down about like, some of that stuff, didn't I? Just oh, I'd really like to just find a band because I feel like that's what would give me some direction. It's not happening. But I've spammed Facebook again with my Kill Switch Engage video. There's a lot of groups that I think I only shared it into 2 groups originally. So I went and found like every other group. I think I shared it in almost 40 groups. So hey, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, we really like it. Good luck finding a band. Okay. So I haven't actually found anyone who's interested yet. There was one guy who wanted to do a collab, and I'm just like, I'm so sick of collabs. Like, I've tried. Fireland was good. Fireland was a good collab because they knew what they were doing. They already had a part written, and they were really supportive and all that. But every other collab, yeah, so far, they haven't really been in the right style for me. The most recent one, the issue I had with it was song structure. I don't know, some of you guys have followed me on Snapchat, but yeah, that one. So it starts off with, it has a really strong verse, I thought. And then there's a chorus, which like the chorus was fine. One of the guitars is a little bit high and annoying, but it was fine as a chorus. And then instead of going back into a verse, it goes into what sounds like a bridge. And then the tiniest, like, you know, little memory of the verse, and then back into a chorus again straight away. And I'm like, wait, too fast. You just introduced a completely new musical idea and you're jumping straight back into the chorus. And then after that, another sort of bridge kind of thing where eventually there's a variation on the verse, but we haven't had enough build up of the verse for that variation to pay off. And then it goes dead silent as like a fake ending, and then there's the chorus again, and I'm just like, oh no, that doesn't suit my style at all. So I had to say no to that. The overall style was okay. I liked the original demos I heard from him first. Like, he had these really short clips, but they were really good clips. But then when he sent the full song, it was a completely different one to what I'd heard, and I couldn't get into it. The style was better than some of the other stuff I've had, but it just didn't quite fit, and the song structure was just all over the place. And I know, like, you can play with the song structure, but for me it just didn't work. So that was frustrating. No, don't talk with your mouth full, hey. And then other collab offers, what, you know, songs weren't really finished, but they also weren't in my style anyway, and it was like, you know, if I try and make suggestions, like, this is becoming a lot of work for something that was just meant to be a recording project. Yeah, and they, like, so other collabs I've had, they just haven't paid off, and I'm sort of tired of people offering me collaboration things instead of being able to get into a band, which is what I really want. Like, in a band, if someone was going to collaborate with me with the goal of turning it into a band, that would be cool. But so far it hasn't really worked out that way. And I feel like there's too much work that's going to come from my side to make it worth my while, especially if it's not 100% in my style. Like, the more work that I have to do, the more it's going to have to be a style that I like, if that makes sense. So that's difficult. How did I get onto this topic? I think I'm just riffing. Yeah, no, I think I want to get into a band, but it's just not working. And yeah, I know. So I shared that thing across Facebook, And so far, one collab offer is all I've gotten. That's thousands of people have seen it now, and still not found. I think it's just Sydney. You know, Sydney's not good for bands because there's a lot of people who are like, oh my god, people would be crazy to not have you as their singer and so on. And I'm like, yeah, well, there are a couple of crazy people who don't want me just because I'm a chick, or at least that's what they say is the reason. And then the rest, like, there's some bands that just weren't actually like some of them weren't even metal, or the oh my god, that Unicorn dudes, they were a shambles. They couldn't even organize a single rehearsal. That one was kind of funny. And then other than that, there just doesn't seem to be that many people looking. Like, I've got an alert so that anytime someone is looking on Gumtree, and then I'm following a couple of groups, so I'm like constantly checking those to see if anyone is looking for a metal singer. And there's like nothing. It's all other genres, and or else like in Melbourne and Brisbane, actually. Even Brisbane has more metal going on, it seems, than Sydney. Like, what is that? Oh man. There's this one group I'm on Facebook. It's like bands looking for members or whatever. And like 90% of what goes up there is Brisbane. Move to Brisbane. I can't afford to move. You know, I need a job. Oh dear. Also, I don't want to move. Because my Hope's here, and Hope's such an anxious thing. He's not going to want to move. That'd really screw with his head. Yeah, I don't know. Like, he would be fine without me. I think he'd get used to it. So I could leave him behind, but I kind of don't want to. Unless, like, okay, if we go way into fantasy land instead of anything realistic, okay? Say, like, this is what happened to Vicky of The Agonist, right? Before they picked her up, she was just doing covers of their songs and a bunch of other stuff. And then when they decided they wanted to kick out Alyssa, they were looking on the internet for people. And that's how she got picked up. And so if something like that were to happen to me, which I don't think is realistic because I'm still working on my vocal technique and no one knows who I am. Oh my god, the sun's gone again. But say something like that, if there was like this big international band that I was really into who were like, hey, do you want to come sing for us? I would be crazy to say no to that. But if it's just like, hey, do you want to come play in our local band in Brisbane? I would be like, yeah, sorry, I'm staying with my dog. You know, so like if I was going to move for a band, it would have to be it would have to be worth it, you know, and yeah, I don't see that happening for me, so, and I wouldn't know how to pay for it, because I'm not going back on Centrelink, oh my god. Oh my god. Centrelink's so bad for my mental health. I'm not touching them again unless I absolutely have to. So, yeah, here I am on my once a week maximum bonsai wages. Anyway, so I guess for now, like, all I can really do is work on my own vocal technique, you know, trying new things, which I'm making progress now, so that's cool. I'm not at a stage where I feel like I can really use it for anything, but things are progressing, and that's good. And then other than that, working on my own solo music, so I had a bit of practice with writing, I guess. It's a bit tricky because I don't like writing the music side of things, so I keep doing this really minimalist sort of electronic stuff, and then I check my vocals on it. And that's good practice, but it's not really the same as practicing writing vocals to a metal track. It's slightly different, and then also when I'm writing the songs, I think I have a particular way of writing, like, the music side of things, and so, you know, it's not the same as getting practice with other people's metal, I guess. Maybe you find somebody for their music if you make waves with the open mics. Oh, yeah, no. It would be... I have sort of said, oh, if you want to see me live, come to the open mic. But it's not really a metal event, you know, it's full of acoustic, whatever. And then I'm playing electronic music anyway. So I don't think it's really a great place to find band members. I mean, I've had people comment afterwards, come up to me and be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 but nothing ever comes from it. Yeah. It's not really going to do that. It's more to just give me some practice being on stage again, and then also, like, you know, instead of having a birthday party, I just tell people come to my gig, and then I'm done with the social obligations of birthdays. Hey. Hello, bit of bread that's trying to escape. Gotcha. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of the birthday party thing, but sometimes people want to do stuff, and I feel I'd rather just do a gig and get it over with, because parties are awkward. Yeah, and I don't drink as well. I don't really want to stand around talking too much, so let's get on stage, and then once I get off stage, I'll have a ton of adrenaline, we'll talk to a few people, and then go home, and that's my social stuff done, and I will have had fun. You know, at a regular party, I don't really have fun, but if I get up on stage, I do have fun, so that's what I'm going to do for my birthday. Yeah, so that's what the open mic's for. It's not really it's not really going to help me find band members. Just to get out there, have a bit of fun, show off my new song. At some point, I'll also want to record the new song. I just haven't decided, like, should I release it as a single, or should I do another EP kind of thing? An awesome birthday party. Yeah. No, I got to decide how I want to handle it. Like, do I just do it as a single? Do I have enough ideas that I want to make an EP? Or do I want to focus on the band search, in which case I might do some more covers, like, might prioritize doing that. Because I don't really want to split my focus too much. Like, if I'm working on an EP, that means I'm probably not going to do covers. But I think covers are probably my better bet to get into a band, because, like, you know, you should see on my YouTube analytics, right? The Killswitch Engage cover is getting a lot of traffic. And yeah, so maybe that's what I need to do, is just keep putting out covers instead of my original stuff. And then the covers might eventually get me in front of someone who actually wants to form a band in a style I like. And then who knows? You know, and then also when I'm approaching bands, I can be like, hey, here's some covers I've done. Whereas I think when I show my original stuff, like, my originals aren't in a style that I want to be in. So Rainbow Death Ray was a little bit too, like, it had metal elements, but it also had this sort of electronic pop vibe, sort of like that sort of spectrum between those two things. So it wasn't really heavy enough. And then, you know, my Asexuality EP, electronic. And I also kind of don't really want to be sending stuff to people where the first thing they see is asexuality. I don't want that to be a defining thing. I really just picked that topic because I knew it would go down well at uni. And yeah, I guess, like, some personal stuff, but, you know, get all that stuff off my chest, and then I never have to think about it again, because I'm done with that community and just want to get on with my life kind of thing and not dwell on it. So yeah, anytime I send it to someone who's looking for bands, I just feel like, oh no, it's gonna color their perception of me, especially, like, depending on, I don't know, I don't want to be sending that. So I've taken to sending the Killswitch cover instead now, which I think it does better, but also, like, this is where I need to work my vocal technique, because I am using, in that Killswitch cover, I am using a different vocal technique to the original, and I think that puts off a few people. Like, the guy who asked me to do it, and then ghosted me, and still goes around looking for people to make a band with, and I commented on another one of his posts, and there's just, like, no response. So this guy basically doesn't have the courage to tell me I am not the sound he's looking for in a band. But I think part of that reason, like, he was okay with the idea of having a female singer, but I think part of the reason he didn't like it is because he wasn't expecting my growl technique, which is much more Angela Gosso than it is, you know, all those fry screamers. Like, the Killswitch have had a couple of different singers, but the guy who did This Fire Burns was using fry screaming, which is a different technique. And of course, me being a chick and using a different technique means, yeah, my sound is not what some people are expecting. And basically, if you don't want me to be in your band, just say so. And then I don't have to wonder about it anymore, you know? Like, have some courage. Follow up. I hate when people don't follow up. There's another band a long time ago when I was a bit depressed, so I don't think I put my full effort in, but like I sent in an audition track and they're like, yeah, I'll show it to the guys and blah, blah, blah. And then they never got back to me. And then they just sort of, you know, they found another singer and I'm like, okay, fine, you've got a singer that suits you better, that's fine. But you could have said something, just tell me, just communicate. How hard is it to communicate? I don't know. That annoyed me. So, you know, they were a band that I wanted to follow, but because they were kind of dicks, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to show them my support. So it does kind of color things. Just be nice. Like, music's a small kind of... And I know that complaining about the music industry I probably shouldn't do, but can't help it now. I'm just like, I've gotten so impatient that I can't keep it in these days. So yeah, but just like, you know, those impressions and so on, right? Just have some courage and tell me no, you know? Oh man, that's a little tangent I didn't really want to get on, but whatever. I'm almost finished. It's taken me an hour to eat a bread roll because I'm too busy talking. Yeah, no, we'll see what happens with music. I do think it is the thing I should be doing though, because, you know, my mood, especially, you know, towards the end of last month, my mood has been really volatile. Like, some days are fine, some days I'll feel kind of depressed. So, got too many gaps in my teeth. Things keep getting stuck. So what point am I trying to make? Hang on, music. Oh yeah, so depression, right? Because I want to avoid becoming depressed again. And so I think my diet's going okay. But what I need to do is, do you like Hate Crew Death Row by Children of Bodom? Could be a cover. I don't really listen to them. I think I have covered a Children of Bodom song before though, maybe for Ensemble. So maybe I'll revisit that one. Forget which one it would have been. But I think what I'm going to do is, like, I'll revisit a lot of my older covers. So I think the next one that I want to do might be I'm Alive by Disturbed, because like 10 years ago I did a really bad cover of it. I haven't watched it again, but I know I was probably singing in head voice, or like mixed head voice. And I would sing that song completely differently now. It's just, I can't remember the lyrics. I keep forgetting, because it's kind of a slower song, and that's probably why I chose it back then, because I wasn't very skilled. And yeah, I want to do an update on that, like 10 years later, how do I sing kind of thing. And then once I've done it, maybe I'll watch my old one again and just sort of, I don't know how I'm going to react, but it'll be interesting to watch and see if I can get through without cringing too much. So I think that's the next one I'm going to do. And then there's another Disturbed one I think I've covered. I don't know if that was 10 years ago as well. No, that might have been like 9 years ago. So I'm going to go back through some of the old covers I've done and like update them and see how much progress I've made. Because I think that like with Kill Switch, I did that at uni. And so my latest Kill Switch cover is sort of an update. I think maybe like 5 years later. And it's kind of cool to do that just to see how much you've progressed, and then I can feel less shit about my vocals, because one of the things about not being able to find a band is it does kind of eat at your confidence. You're like, but I've done so much work, why doesn't anyone want me in my band? Maybe it's me, maybe I suck. So I've been through that whole sort of thing, but when I go and look at the older stuff, I'm like, well, I don't suck as badly as I used to, so that's a positive, and we've got to try and think positive, don't we? But anyway, so finding a band, in terms of avoiding depression, so diet's fine. I may be eating bread rolls with crappy tomato soup from a satchel right now, but the rest of the time, you know, I'm eating pretty well, especially at dinner, because Mum loves cooking. She gets bored of bad food, so, you know, yeah, we have a lot of variety. So, you know, I go through my list: sleep, diet, exercise, keeping busy, helping people, and then there was one more, but I'm gonna add getting more sun, because I realized with hope stress, I wasn't getting enough sun. But that's outside, beside the point. Sleep, how does sleep relate to the band? Okay, no, sleep is a thing that I do for myself. Sleep, diet, exercise. Okay, so being a singer, you have to be fit to be able to get enough air going. And then dancing around on stage without collapsing. So exercise, and then also being at band prac. Because like at band prac, when we're going through the songs, I'm likely to do dancing stuff there as well. So that's some exercise. And then also just getting out there. Depending on where rehearsal is, if I can catch the bus to go there, that means I'm walking places, so that's a bit of exercise. Sleep, diet, exercise. Keeping busy, band's keeping busy, because you're doing band stuff, right? Every week you're rehearsing, and then you're like in between rehearsals, you're working on your own shit, you know, making sure you're practicing your parts and writing whatever you need to write, and all the behind the scenes stuff of the band, like social media, the management, the anything to do with recording, organizing that stuff, whatever. So you're definitely keeping busy when you're with a band. Keeping busy, helping people. I mean, it's not really a helping people in that sort of sense, but the getting outside and getting some sun, yeah, definitely doing that in a band. And my doctor reckoned I should be more social, which I don't really like being social, but when we are working together in a band is the most likely time I'm going to socialize. So when I was in Rainbow Death Ray, like I'm not very good at just hanging out. Occasionally I'll just hang out with a friend, like we'll go see a movie or whatever, but it's not something I like doing a lot. Like I need to recharge sometimes. The stream started like you're full of energy, so that's good. Yeah. No, I'm not very good at just hanging out. For me, if there's a reason to hang out, I'm more likely to be into it. So if you're just like, hey, let's go grab a coffee, I'm like, okay, why? You know, just to grab a coffee and chat to me is a bit weird. Whereas if you're like, hey, let's go see a movie and then we can get lunch after, to me that makes more sense, because movie, yeah, let's go see a movie. I haven't seen many movies. I like the idea of that movie, let's go do it. But what's more effective for me is if it's, hey, let's do rehearsals and then we can hang out or whatever. And I'll go to the rehearsal, do the thing, and then chances are we'll get chatting about something, and that's how I end up hanging out. Or if it's at a gig, which is sort of like the reason I'm doing this birthday gig, is like, I'm there for a reason. I'm there to get up on stage. And then when I get off stage, I'm gonna be full of adrenaline, and that's when you can hit me with the social stuff. Before the performance, I will be going to the toilet a lot out of nervousness. And I will be like mostly just keeping an eye on the performers so that I make sure I get up on time, because I'll be just like a ball of anxiety. But then once you get rid of that anxiety and you've done the thing and you're full of the adrenaline, everything's good and it feels good. So, and that's easy to do being in a band, because if I do it on my own, there's less incentive for me to keep things up. No one except myself is really waiting for me to do anything. I mean, I know I've got an audience who are hoping that I'll perform sometimes, but it's not the same as having a group of people that you're working with who are relying on you to turn up every week, to do all the work, to know what you're doing, you know, all that kind of stuff. So being in a band, it really fills a lot of the things that I probably should be doing to try not to get depressed. And then music's just fun, like, you know, and I don't enjoy many things in my life. So I should really go with the thing that I think I enjoy, you know? Oh my God, my soup is getting cold. I'm gonna finish this up. Hang on. Is it the soup or the bread that's cold? I'm not entirely sure. Okay, I'll finish this and then we can concentrate a bit more. Okay, so the bread's done. One of the funny things that's been happening in this stream is, oh, I hope a bit of bread's still there. One of the funny things that's happening in this stream is, like, I don't know how reliable it is, but I can see roughly how many people are viewing. And yeah, every now and then the number goes up, and then I'm eating something and then they disappear, and I'm just like, oh, are people running away because I keep eating stuff? Like, is that how I scare people away from my stream? Or is it just the internet being dodgy? It looks like it's, oh no, it's still pretty windy. I think It's windy in Sydney, and at the start of the stream, I mentioned something about like I don't know how well the stream will go because knowing Australian internet, the wind will blow the internet over. Um, yeah, no, it's windy in Sydney, and oh my god, it's quite noisy. I actually heard like whistling, and I'm not even like up high. When I used to go to my grandparents' place, they used to live in this tall apartment thing. Like it was a 3-level apartment, but it was on the side of a massive hill, and so you would hear on like windy days, you would hear the wind whistling through all the wires and so on. Tomato, tomato, tomato. Yeah, but I heard whistling where we are, and we are not high above anything. So that's how windy it is. And there's this pot plant out the front that I can see has been knocked over, and it's sort of just resting against one of the other pot plants. And I'm like, I could go out and straighten it up, but it's just going to blow over again in this wind, so there's no point. And I also don't want twigs falling on my head. We've got a gum tree out the front, and it's dropped a few twigs in this. Alright, let me finish this soup, eh? It is getting a bit cold. Dear oh dear. But yeah, oh my god, it's so windy. Like, exercise, right? I really should go for a walk or something and take Hopi with me. Because I don't know, did Hopi go out today? I'm not sure. He definitely didn't go to the park. But, yeah, I don't want to go out in this weather. It's so windy and, there's just like twigs flying around and I think I will stay indoors. Pot plant means something completely different in the States. Oh, what do you call pot plants there then? Like I know you're referring to like weed or something, but what would you call a pot plant? Like a regular pot plant? I can't even think of a different way to say it. A potted plant? Would you be that specific? Because it's not really a house plant. Potted, okay. No, we just call them pot plants. Maybe that's an Aussie thing though. We can be a bit lazy with our language. Like instead of saying afternoon, arvo. Arvo, servo, bottle-o. Oh no, bottle-o. Oh yeah, no, because you're shortening bottle shop to bottle-o, which is slightly easier to say. Sometimes I think we make it so that things are a bit worse than if you just said them the normal way. Smoko. Yeah. I don't actually know many people who use a lot of these. I think it's more like my dad's generation and my dad's sort of social circle. Although I guess like if you go to Bogan, Sydney, like Western Sydney, there's some different kinds of slang. But yeah, for my generation, I don't feel like we talk as much like that. But I guess it depends where you live. Maybe it's just my particular upbringing. I think we're a little bit more influenced by some American culture. And then, yeah, I feel like some of those Aussie things kind of just like, who cares? Although, on the other hand, there are probably some Aussie things that I say without realizing they're Aussie things, like the pot plant thing. Oh dear, it's funny thinking about language sometimes, isn't it? Oh yeah, an Aussie band. Yeah, no, I just don't hear many people, but then again, I guess I don't socialize that much, so maybe that's the problem. Like, I don't hear many people saying g'day. I feel like it's a particular demographic who says g'day, and I'm not part of it. I don't think I ever say g'day, unless I'm trying to put it on for a tourist. Yeah, what Aussie things do I say? I guess Aussie is an Aussie thing to say, because that's one of the ways that we shorten words. Aussie. Straya. I don't say Straya. I might type Straya because it's funny. Alright. We are done with the eating. I'm sorry that took me like an hour. That's what I get for being distracted. Okay, so what's something fair dinkum? Yeah, I don't say fair dinkum. I don't really know many people who say fair dinkum. And then we've got weird things like we had the one of our prime ministers. Oh my god, we've had so many prime ministers in the past 10 years. Kevin Rudd, maybe it was during an election campaign or something. Crikey. Nah, I don't say crikey. That's a very Steve Irwin thing. Kevin Rudd, I think, during like lots of weird stuff happens during election campaigns, and one of his he tried to say an Aussie saying, like, relate to the average person kind of thing. And he came up with this one, fair shake of the sauce bottle, mate. And I'm like, no one says that. I've never heard that one in my entire life. Everyone's like, fair shake of the sauce bottle. What are you on? Who says that? There must be a thing that's just like in your family. Like in my family, we have the ant farm thing. Oh, that's such an ant farm. Fair shake of the sauce bottle is not a saying. He made that up, or someone around him made it up. I don't know. It was fucking weird. He's also, if you go to his Facebook page and maybe his Twitter, yesterday or the day before, he released this really weird video where he's claiming to be the handball champion, and it's bizarre because I'm pretty sure it's a joke, but he says it so deadpan that you're like, I don't know if he's joking or if he's just super awkward and doesn't know how to be a real person. Some people have a joke about him being the Rudd bot. Yeah, because I think during an election campaign, I think he went and played handball with some kids, and his technique's really awkward. I know 3 things about Australia. Oh man. So yeah, Rudd. He's a bit of an interesting character. And then you've got people like Tony Abbott, who goes to, I don't remember what the context was, but he went to an onion farm and just grabs an onion and just takes a bite. And we're all like, oh my god, this man is not human. He is definitely an alien from another planet. Like, humans don't just take a bite out of an onion. Oh my god, I think those 2 might be the weirdest prime ministers we've had. Yeah, in the past 10 years though, like they only last like 2 years or whatever, and then they get kicked out, stabbed by their own party, and then their next guy comes in. It's just like, oh my god. Oh man, politicians are so weird. Yeah, anyway, but we don't have an election coming up until, I think, 2022. So we don't have to think about it for a while. They can do whatever the fuck they're doing. Who's Prime Minister now? It's ScoMo. See, we even shortened our Prime Minister's name, ScoMo. Yeah. I don't know, it'd be interesting to see how he does. Because Albo is the opposition leader, finally. I like Albo more than Shorten. Although, like, I think at the moment, there's not really much that he can do, it's too far away from an election. He's kind of just going to keep things stable and not do anything stupid for a while. And then, I don't know, at some point start inspiring people. I don't know, the next election will be interesting, but I think it'll depend on like what's going on in the world and what else is happening. So yeah, hard to say which way it'll go. I do think they're on shakier ground than the state, the current government, the current federal government. I do feel like they're on shakier ground than the state government. Although the New South Wales government has its own issues, so it's kind of like, who knows, but it's going to be a long time before the next election. So yeah, try not to think about it. Try not to think about politics, because I'm so tired of politics. And oh my god, seeing things going on in America, and I'm just like, yeah, I kind of don't want to hear about America, but you can't escape it. Oh man. And then what stuff going on in Hong Kong sounds crazy too. That prompted me to look up, like in France, in Paris, there were those yellow vest dudes, because like the news was covering them quite a lot for a while, and then all of a sudden that disappeared, and I was like, oh, I wonder whatever happened to them. Apparently just fizzled out. You've completely tuned out? Yeah. I want to do that, but it just keeps popping up, you can't avoid it. We watch a lot of, my parents watch a lot of news. Sometimes Mum will go from Channel 10 News. What time is that on? Maybe about 5. And then I think Channel 7 News is on at 6. And then the ABC News is on at 7. And it's just like a whole heap of news. The mainland is going to use this to annex Hong Kong. I was reading an article today, and it sounds a lot more complex than that. Unfortunately, I don't remember what the article was. But Then they want Taiwan. Yeah, see, I mean, I don't know that they'd be crazy enough to use their army to go in. I don't really know. Like, China, you'd think they're such a big country, they probably do have the military to be able to do it. But I think they'd be risking too much internationally if they made those kinds of moves. So, yeah, with what's going on in Hong Kong, like, I think military action for things like Taiwan's kind of out of the question, and that's why they've been letting Taiwan just sort of stemming ties with Russia. They've been letting Taiwan sort of do its own thing. Like, if they really wanted to, they probably could go in with military and just like fuck shit up and end the conflict and so on. But I think there must be a reason why they're trying to do stuff diplomatically first, and I suspect it's mainly to do with international community, but I haven't looked into it enough. But what this article was saying is with Hong Kong, right? It was saying that they probably won't send the army in because of like things like backlash and blah 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 blah. I don't quite 100% understand it because yeah, it hasn't been a focus for me. But one of the interesting things is so Hong Kong has that one country, two systems thing, or two governments. No, they have some system where technically they're part of China, but they have their own separate government. And apparently, from all this, because it's been so unstable, the current leader of Taiwan is the biggest winner from this whole conflict because he's, I think, an independence dude or whatever. Don't care about politics anymore or anything like that. The guy running Taiwan at the moment is very much about independence, not interested in joining up with China and so on. And this guy in the article was saying China has been trying to woo Taiwan by saying, hey, you could have a system like Hong Kong where we could be one country but two systems. But because that system in Hong Kong at the moment is so messed up right now, Taiwan's looking at that going, if that's how that system works, we don't want it. So if China was then to send in troops to Hong Kong, Taiwan would be like, we definitely don't want that system. So this person's arguing that China won't send troops in unless things got really extreme, because if they do that, they're not going to be able to convince Taiwan ever to join up. So that was kind of an interesting insight. I'd probably have to do more research to really understand it and form a real opinion of whether or not I think that's likely. And things are always developing, things might happen, but yeah, whatever. I wish England would have secured full autonomy for Hong Kong when they handed over power like a cat woos a mouse. Yeah, I like, it is a worrying situation in Hong Kong. Like, if China could just leave them alone, I think that would be the best. I'm really disappointed with China because, like, to me, they have so much potential, but because their government are so obsessed with power and staying in power, they put in all these freedom restricting things. And I feel like that's holding China back. I feel like if the leaders could actually make a proper democracy and give the people proper freedoms, China could be amazing. Like, they would just completely take over. In that sort of like nice way, they would just overtake the US, overtake everything, and yeah. But I feel like the leaders, with their anxiety to hang on to power, they're messing things up, and it's not going, like, they're trying to gain influence by force instead of gaining influence just by being awesome. Yeah. So I think, I don't know, I just like, China, you could be so good, but you keep doing these things. And it's like, throughout China's history, things like that keep happening. Like, China almost could have been basically like Britain colonizing everywhere, but, they had some shit going on and they're like, no, we're going to completely become internal again. I don't know. They've ruined Kung Fu movies with all the mainland propaganda. Yeah, well. It's unfortunate, isn't it? That it's got so much potential, but because they're dicks. Like, in Australia, there are a few universities that have, I think they're called Confucius Centers or something. I don't know. It's like, I think you learn about Chinese stuff, but the Confucius Centers have like government people involved, and so propaganda gets in and people are like, oh, should we really allow this in our universities, which I think is a real shame, because Chinese culture, there's a lot that is interesting, but if China's going to be a dick, then no one wants to learn about it, you know. I remember like people saying, oh, one day Australians are all going to be speaking Chinese, and I think the main thing that's stopping that from happening is just because China keeps being a dick instead of being open and giving us more incentive to want to learn Chinese. You know, like, no one really wants to hang out with the people who are just being bullies. You know, it's frustrating. Is that in that article I was reading this morning with the Hong Kong stuff about why they won't invade Hong Kong? You know, one of the things they were talking about regarding the success of Hong Kong financially and all that is the democracy and freedoms. I love the Warring States period. Hong Kong is successful because of its freedoms, and you know, a lot of banks and big companies hang out in Hong Kong because, you know, it's free enough. The laws are pretty solid, although now with all the conflict, things are getting a bit dodgy. And then if China comes in and makes things heaps restrictive, you can imagine all these big companies hanging out in Hong Kong might rethink having that as like a headquarters or whatever. They might move to, I don't know, Singapore or something. They won't want to be based in Hong Kong, and that could be really bad for Hong Kong's economy. I mean, I don't know how much of this is legit, because I'm talking out of my ass here based on like 1 or 2 articles. I think I looked at a few, but not enough to be an expert. But it did seem to suggest that part of Hong Kong's success is its freedom that has allowed the market to thrive there. And yeah, China, if they try and suppress that, it might not be the same. And you know, you can imagine if China, when they tried to be communist, things were shit. Then they sort of moved to a sort of like, okay, we're still communist, but you can do a bit of capitalism, and the economy is taken off. And can you imagine if they went all the way to more democratic capitalism? You just kind of think that, like, how much better would that be? And they would overtake America, no problem. But they don't do that. China is 1 billion people. Holding that together is a miracle in itself. Yeah, that is one of the difficulties of China, and I think throughout China's history, one of the reasons why the governments have generally been pretty controlling, whether that was back in like imperial times or with the communist guys. I think that is a difficult thing, but you know, there's so much they could open up, and it'd just be like, I don't know, I just feel like there's so much potential and it's not getting there because they're too busy being dicks. It's unfortunate. Anyway, that's my amateur political opinion on Hong Kong and China and Taiwan and so on. Probably talking about things I don't really know enough about, but that's my impression based on the knowledge I currently have. You know, if someone has some better insight to enlighten me with, I would be open to that. Yeah. Anyway, so interesting stuff there. I know, like, I went to school with some people who were Hong Kong Chinese. I think a lot of people left Hong Kong before China took it back from Britain. So, you know, there's always been that anxiety that they'd be losing their freedoms. And yeah, hopefully it doesn't get to that, but it'd be interesting to watch. And I don't know. I think if China was to invade Hong Kong, that'd kind of justify a lot of Trump being dicks to China. And then the rest of the world could be dicks to China, because they'd be like, look what you did to these people. We're not gonna tolerate that. That would be an interesting situation for the world to get into. As long as I can get my Chinese products on eBay. Yeah, that's one of those things. But they're manipulating the currency, aren't they? Isn't that what Trump said? Or the White House at least. I don't know, because they're trying to manipulate the currency to get around the tariffs or something. I don't know. I think I'm not a fan of Trump, but I think taking on China is not the worst thing he's done. I think to some extent China does need a bit of a wake-up call. I'm not sure about the trade situation in the US, but for me, just because China are being annoying and horrible to their people, especially the minority groups there, but they're just like, I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't mind Trump fucking them up a little bit. Also, Australia's done kind of well out of it so far. We've had a trade surplus as a result, I think. Self-interest. There are people who are saying like it's not going to go well for Australia in the long term if this goes on, but for now we're doing all right. I would like to see Chinese New Year in Hong Kong before I die. Yeah, well, we'll see if Hong Kong lasts that long. Oh man. Yeah. I gotta say, I'm not gonna go to America anytime soon, though. That's crazy. You know, I heard about the shootings, but I think what for me was like, I was watching Trevor Noah on The Daily Show. He does like that between the scenes thing, which is the main segment I watch. The rest of the show, I'm a bit like, sometimes I'll watch, sometimes I don't. I only watch the clips on Facebook, but between the scenes is good. And he was talking about, well, I think in New York, is it the Times Square or something? A motorcycle backfired and people thought it was like a gunman shooting everyone. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know that I want to visit America anytime soon. It sounds insane. Yeah. When things backfire in Australia, you're just like, oh shit, it's just a motorcycle going by. You know, we don't have that sort of, what it was like America's PTSD about gun violence, because, you know, guns are a lot harder to get here. If I leave, I'll probably not come back here. Trump is like a loose cannon, but in this crazy world, that's what you need sometimes. Yeah, well, more likely to win the lottery than be involved in a mass shooting. Well, yeah, it's just like the mass shooting, you know, America could fix it or, you know, curb some of it if it wanted to, but the leaders, especially that turtle guy, who's that turtle guy in Congress, who keeps blocking everything, and I'm like, even Republicans want this change. Why do you keep blocking everything, you turtle? I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me, and I don't want to, like, it's not just the gun stuff in America that bothers me, though. There's so much in America, especially, like, since Trump. I think one of the most beneficial things Trump has done is gotten a lot of people paying attention to politics more. Live by so, die by so. He's gotten people paying attention to politics. So, like, now I know way too much about American politics that I never wanted to know. And then things like, technically, asbestos isn't banned in America. And I'm just like, are you fucking serious? Like, how capitalist do you want to be that you won't just ban asbestos? That's dumb. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird shit in America that I didn't know before. And now I know. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'll stay in Australia. Thank you very much. Australia's not perfect, but I think we're doing a little bit better than America in a lot of the things that matter to me. But on that point about Trump being a loose cannon, and sometimes that's what you need, here, I don't know who was the first to suggest it, but now Barnaby Joyce and the Nationals are actually pushing for nuclear power. And I'm like, finally, someone at least brought it up. That's all I want, is someone to bring it up. We can have a proper look at it, properly compare our options. And then, you know, if it's not viable, okay, fine, we won't do it. But if it is viable, why are we ignoring a potentially good resource? So Barnaby Joyce is a little bit of a nut, but sometimes you need a nut to actually push forward things that might be worth doing. So I think Australia's government is going to be looking at the possibility of nuclear, you know, at the federal level. I think South Australia did an inquiry on it, but now federally they're going to be looking at the nuclear question. Do you mean fission or fusion? But like, I think the thorium thing could be an interesting thing to try. But I think at the moment, what someone was talking about, those modular reactors and so on. I don't know, there's so many. Yeah, I saw the floating reactor thing. There's just so many different ways to do nuclear now, and it is much safer than it used to be. It's like airplanes, right? When one crashes, it's kind of like, it's dramatic and scary and all that, but if you compare how many people die in plane crashes to car crashes, for example, like, people are dying in car crashes every day. You're more likely to die on your way to the airport in a car than you are in a plane in the sky. It's, I mean, not a perfect comparison. Fusion research has been, oh yeah, yeah, no, more funding for nuclear in general, because it has so much potential, it's so much cleaner, and then these days you can even recycle some of the waste product in things like thorium reactors and whatever. Like, you can use that waste product, you don't just have to store it. But on the other hand, Also, Australia's geology is incredibly stable, so you could store things. There is some of that, I think, some cultural sensitivity in terms of like some lands that you might want to use might belong to some Aboriginal group. I don't know how many actually use their land, but there might be issues there. That's one thing I can think of is the cultural stuff. But other than that, the geology, like we hardly ever have any earthquakes here. Natural disasters, like the what you get some cyclones up north, north of Queensland kind of area, but the rest of Australia, there's not a whole lot really. And if you consider Japan has earthquakes and they still use nuclear reactors, Fukushima was a one-off. It didn't really cause that much trouble in like the grand scheme of things. And they have earthquakes there and they're still using nuclear, whereas in Australia we don't have earthquakes. That's not an issue, and there are so many better technologies. That Fukushima reactor was badly designed. People learn from that, and we would be able to design much better reactors here. Fusion would be awesome, but fusion, like they're struggling to come up with designs that make more energy than they use. It's very difficult. They shouldn't put their backup generators on. Yeah, it was just like, it was a really bad design flaw. And also the seawall apparently was shorter than the original design was. So there's lots of shit like that went wrong with Fukushima. And then in the end, like, I think when you look at the statistics of deaths with nuclear, I mean, I haven't double checked this, but there's a claim that as a percentage of like the power produced, it doesn't actually affect as many people. Although there is a tricky thing with nuclear, because with radiation, unless you get killed almost immediately by radiation poisoning, it can be very hard to tell what is from radiation and what's just like natural, in terms of developing cancers and so on. Like, I think to do like with Chernobyl, the people around there, the immediate deaths were relatively small. But in terms of cancer deaths many years later, it's hard to tell, because as people age, you become more susceptible to developing cancer anyway. And so it can be hard to measure how much was actually a result of the meltdown and how much is just the human body being a dick, So that's one of the difficult things to measure. But yeah, I don't know, I'm concerned about renewables, which is what a lot of people are pushing in Australia, and especially the people who are anti-nuclear. It's just like nuclear power plants where the white sharks are. I don't mind sharks. Sharks are okay. Other chemical exposures. Yeah, no, with like renewables, especially with like, so we had that Tesla dude, what's his name, Elon Musk, and he put in that huge battery farm in South Australia, right? And he's all like, oh, everyone should just have solar panels and a battery on their homes. But there's a life cycle to these things, and while at the time it might just be generating power from the sun, I worry about what's in the batteries, because there's lithium batteries. First of all, they've got to be mined for all the different components, and I think it's not lithium, maybe it was cobalt, or I don't know, there's something else that goes in the batteries that apparently is mined in like really poor countries where the people aren't treated well as they're mining it. And I'm like, so that we can feel good about our green credentials and so on, we are destroying other people's lives with the whole mining process. I'm like, I mean, I'd like some more information about that, but I kind of think, is that really the trade-off that, I'm just like, whereas if we did nuclear in Australia, at least we could mine it and we could keep an eye on it, because we've got a ridiculous amount of uranium, and I think we've also got a lot of thorium as well if we wanted to go that route. We could do that ourselves, have our own regulatory bodies and make sure things are done right, whereas some of the countries where things are mined for renewables, I'm a bit iffy about. I'm like, I don't know that the people are being treated well there. So there's that as a concern. But then also, once the battery is dead, like, we worry about what we're going to do with nuclear waste, but what about all these thousands of batteries that we're going to end up with all the components in there? I'm a little bit concerned about how we're going to manage that, because there is some dodgy stuff that goes into it. So I'm just like, I'm not convinced 100% by the let's just use power from the sun. I'm like, okay, but how do we get power from the sun? How do we get power from the wind? How do we store it so that we don't have to rely on the weather to provide our energy? And you know, it's not just like you lift your hands up to the sky and absorb energy from the sun. It's not that simple. You have to build structures, and anytime you build something, you have to keep in mind, what are you using to build it, and what are you mining? Who are you impacting? Is it really, like, if you weigh up the entire life cycle of renewables, how good is it for the environment compared to, for example, nuclear? I think coal and those ones, I think they're on their way out. I think we've probably fairly well established that those aren't the best idea if you weigh up all these different things, because coal, you have mining disasters, you have people breathing in the crappy smoke and whatever, and then you've got the environmental stuff with CO2, blah blah. I think we've established that maybe that's not where we want to go, but I'm not so sure about nuclear, because nuclear's emission free. It's more the radioactive waste to deal with, although there are the aspects of building the actual power plant that we've got to calculate, and so that's why I'm like, let's at least look at it and weigh up the options instead of just running away because, ooh, nuclear bombs are scary and Chernobyl happened and wasn't that scary. I don't feel like that's a good enough reason to completely dismiss it, especially many years later when there have been developments. Development has been slow because of the fear and people haven't been funding it as much, but people have been working on it. We do have better designs now. We also have learned from the past. Like, you know, I love watching old documentaries on nuclear experiments and so on, because they would just like pick up this stuff with minimal protection and be like, hey guys, here's the thing. And then someone bumps something and boom, everyone's dead from radiation. It's just like, oh my God, they were such cowboys back then. It's just like insane the things they used to do with nuclear materials. I'm just like, yeah, maybe that was a bad idea. Like a guy who was trying to manually lower, a control rod or something, and he went a little bit too fast or a little bit too far, and it like in an instant something boiled or whatever, and the rod shot back up and like impaled him into the ceiling or something. All this kind of weird stuff used to happen with nuclear fuel and whatever. We would not be doing that shit now. I think we have learned from that kind of, oh my God, like this is the days before we had, you know, OH&S and ethics councils and so on, and that's like the most fun stuff to read about, back when people just did insane things. It's the same with psychology. If you look at the old experiments in psychology when they had no ethics committees and they just did all this dumb stuff, you're like, oh my God, you would not get away with that today. And even if you invented a new technology today, people are so safety conscious that it's unlikely you'd have the same extremes. Even if you didn't understand a new technology, people would be so much more careful. I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God, we were cowboys back then. Even a small country like Germany has a hard time depending on renewable energy sources, so what would a country like China do? Yeah, I think it's tricky, isn't it? Because renewables, it has corresponded with the rise in prices, at least in Australia. Although in Australia, I suspect some of that is because we have this problem where the governments have been bad at deciding what they want to do with energy. So, you know, sometimes we'll be like, okay, we're going to go 100% renewable. And then sometimes we'll be like, actually, maybe we still need coal. And then someone else will be like, you know, especially with our governments being crazy, not having consistent prime minister and all that kind of stuff, we're sort of flip-flopping between different energy policies and different climate policy, blah, blah, blah. So what happens with that is businesses, energy businesses are like, well, should we build a new coal plant, or is this going to be a bad idea because the government will suddenly regulate it? Like, is it going to be, are we going to get a good return on investment if we do this? And on the other hand, they're like, should we invest in renewables? Because maybe that's where the government's going to go, but we don't know for sure. And at the moment, you know, maybe it costs us this much, but if we got this government subsidy, maybe we could do it. But then now they flip-flopped on the subsidy. And so, like, you know, because our government can't figure out a policy, I think one of the reasons for energy price rises is just because companies don't know where to invest. And as a result, they don't. And so the existing supply of power isn't enough, and demand goes up, prices go up. So it kind of, to some extent, doesn't really matter what energy mix we decide to go for, as long as we just pick one and stick with it for a decade or so that companies have some certainty and can make investments, instead of like, well, maybe we just keep this coal plant going as long as we can, and that's all we do, you know. Or, you know, in some cases they've wanted to close down coal plants because it just wasn't viable, and replace it with nothing because they just don't know what's worth investing in, you know. So there's that difficulty. Also with renewables, some of the technology, I feel like we're not 100% there in terms of how good the technology is. Like, I know it's constantly improving, but I'm not sure, you know, like, I feel like we could do better if we waited a little while. For me, what I think is maybe we do nuclear as soon as possible, because we already have the technology, we know it's efficient, we know it'll solve a lot of the problem and keep us powered for like 20 years while we work on better renewables. Because at the moment, you know, you have a solar panel, but it can't convert all of the sun's light into energy. And the same with wind stuff. Like, it's not, then these things, I wonder, are they efficient enough to justify their, like, you know, having them on a large scale? You want them to be able to get as much energy as possible. So we could have nuclear to like sort of tie us over from a transition to coal to nuclear, and then once we have the solar panels and whatever, really solid, really efficient, making the most out of the materials that they're made out of, so that they completely balance out all the downsides, then we can transition to nuclear to renewables. You know, I just wonder if our technology is good enough to justify it. Because coal plant in Jacksonville and using smaller natural gas plants, yeah. I don't know. I just, like, there's a lot that I don't know about energy policy, and I have a lot of doubts just because it's so hard to find unbiased sources, because, you know, there's the green movement are all about renewables, which I'm just like, I know it sounds good to get money off the sun, but, to get energy off the sun, but, are you letting your feelings get in front of the facts and the data about nuclear? Like, nuclear feels scary. That's not a good enough reason to say no to it. Whereas getting energy from the sun feels nice, but that's not enough to say that the technology is good enough. You know, I'm ranting, but it's just like, I want a more objective look at what our options are. Use nuclear until they perfect antimatter reactors. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just feel like, you know, solar technology has definitely gotten better, and I have heard of some developments where they've improved the efficiency of solar cells, but it's mainly been in the lab, and they haven't figured out how to scale the technology up to, you know, mass production and whatever. I've heard of some things like that, and I know it's always developing, but I kind of feel like we should have done nuclear reactors like 20 years ago to, you know, switch us over to a low carbon technology early, and then give us some breathing space to develop better renewables. You know, like, why? It's just because of fear that we didn't go that way, and it's a real shame. You know, some people are like, oh, if you use nuclear reactors, you'll be producing, you know, fuel, the elements you need to make weapons. But that's not the case with thorium, apparently. Thorium isn't good for making nuclear weapons. So how about we work on that technology? You could spread that around. I think that was the main reason thorium didn't get much development, because back in the day, people wanted nukes. Anyway, I don't know. It's just like emotions versus facts. I want to know what the facts are, and I want to read something that doesn't have emotion in it, obscuring too much of what might actually work. So that's energy. How did we get onto the topic of energy? We were talking about politics, and I was trying not to talk about politics, and then I went there anyway. Heavy water reactors don't need enriched uranium. Yeah, I've heard of all kinds of stuff. You know, there's so many different technologies, and that's why it's hard to keep up with nuclear. Like, there are a lot of options, and that's why I think we should look into it, and then maybe one of the options will prove viable, especially because Australia, you know, we talk about baseload power, whereas renewables don't really provide enough of that because they rely on the weather. You know, maybe there is a nuclear option. that will get us through, and we should investigate that. But we won't know if we're always running in fear and refusing to even take a glance, you know. That's what annoys me about some of the green groups, is they're a little bit too emotion driven, and they don't even want to hear a possible thing that they might have gotten wrong. But hey, what can you do? It's human nature, isn't it? I need a drink. I can't reach. Until they get fusion going, they have to use regular nuclear power plants. Well, see, regular nuclear power plants, it depends on what type, right? You've got your standard uranium. Are they light water reactors, or I don't know. I don't know the technical terms, but you've got the standard uranium fission ones, but then you've got the thorium one, where it needs a little bit of plutonium, or you could use nuclear waste to fire a few electrons in. Is it electrons? Neutrons. To fire a few neutrons in there and get the reaction going. There's different kinds of reactors, and then that small modular reactors or something, you know, they're actually quite tiny. Those could be interesting to look into. There's so many different reactor designs, and ones that like are designed to shut down automatically without the need for backup power and whatever. You know, there's all kinds of interesting innovations in nuclear technology, and we should just look at it, you know? At least look at it. We don't have to go with it in the end, but at least if we look at it, we know for sure that we didn't miss something that could have been good. An old Atari game called Scram. Oh my god. Oh my god, oh, what, with the gun control thing, The Daily Show made this game, which is like, oh, because you know, they're like, oh, guns don't cause gun violence, video games do. So they made a video game that's about passing gun reform, and I'm like, that's a pretty funny one. You operate a fission plant. So you're trying not to get the thing to melt down. Yeah, that can be interesting. Resource management, that sounds like. Oh man. But yeah, no, let's not get into the gun violence in video games. I don't know, it's just like, okay, if you look at me, I have mental illness, or, you know, technically I don't now, but my brain is prone to mental illness, so there's that. I play video games and I have social media, which I think are the 3 things they're blaming for the gun violence in America. And I'm like, I have those 3 things, but I haven't shot up 100 people or whatever. I haven't gone out mass shooting. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because it's that hard to get guns in Australia. Guns aren't banned here though. I have been shooting. It was kind of fun. I went to this shooting range in Sydney. It must have been like 6 years ago. My ex took me. Yeah, let's not talk about him. But I beat him though. It turns out I'm actually really good. I'm a good shot, and they were telling me that I should take it up as a sport, but not him. Because like I don't know if I still do, but I had steady hands. Oh yeah, my hands are fairly steady. So like when you're firing a gun, I found pistols more fun than rifles, but I didn't need a license, right? Because it was like this try shooting thing. I don't know if the law has changed since then. If the law has changed, it's probably become more relaxed, to be honest. But I was able to shoot without a license. Away from the daily stuff. You have something on the Hun-10 jacket. Huh? Where? No, it looks fine to me. Yeah, no, I went shooting in Australia, and didn't need a license because it was a try shooting supervised thing, and you know, that's actually where I learned to put earplugs in, because until then I was a little bit paranoid about putting anything in my ears, but I had to because, you know, you're shooting a gun and they're loud. So yeah, disposable earplugs, probably my first time actually putting them in. And then yeah, you sit there and they explain how the guns work, and like if you hold a pistol, I think this might be a specific type of pistol, but if you hold it the wrong way, when it fires, it can like basically shoot your thumb off, so you've got to make sure you don't hold it the wrong way, otherwise you will hurt yourself. So like learning about that, how to hold it properly, how to aim properly, so like don't do like in the movies we've just got one hand, you should be using 2, and you should be doing straight instead of bent, because then you can what was it, is like if you always have it at the same distance, so that when you're aiming you have a sort of consistent thing to work with. Clear of the slide, yeah, that's the thing. See, I don't even remember the terminology, I just remember that was a thing. yeah, and then how to aim, and then you've got the little gun, and it's got this little thing on top that helps you aim, and you've got to try and get the target. I think it was just above that little thing, and your hand is always slightly moving, so you've just got to wait until your hand gets to that point where it's just under the target, and then you fire. And yeah, I mean, like, I wasn't a perfect shot or anything, but I was better than my ex. I beat his score both on pistols and rifles. The rifles sucked because they had them on tables with these funny little weights. I guess so that they don't, like, what do you call it, kickback or something? They had them on tables with weights, and you kind of just like slightly adjusted it, and then you took a shot. And that one we were allowed to load ourselves, though. I wasn't allowed to load the pistol myself. I think there was some safety reason for that, but we were allowed to load the rifles. But they had to be on this table, and then you're just shooting at this target, and it was a lot easier to be accurate because you're on that damn table. Oh, the story of the hunting. 9mm. I don't know what type of gun I shot. I just know pistol and a rifle. And yeah, I beat him. He used to play video games a lot, Call of Duty, but no, my shot's better. I don't know, I think because he was a bit older than me, and also a little bit messed up, probably from smoking pot and so on. Wow, did I just say that live? I don't know how much I really wanted to say about him, but hey, whoops, it's live, what can you do? Yeah. No, probably a bit messed up from some of that stuff. So, yeah, he wasn't as steady as me. Grew up in the South. Yeah, you American guys would know more about the guns than me. But yeah, no, I just listened to what the instructors were telling me, and I'm like, oh, okay, so that's how you shoot a gun. And then I was just like, bang, there you go. Hello! Oh, yay! I don't know how to pronounce Louis Gur. I hope that's how you want it pronounced. Yeah, welcome. I haven't seen you on a live stream before, maybe. Yeah, no. We're just talking about that time I went shooting guns, because you can do it in Australia. It's just like under restrictions. So yeah, I think one of the main restrictions with the pistol is the guys had to load it for you, but then you can shoot at the target. I think this must be, because we had the Olympics in Sydney, so in the year 2000, and I think that must be when they built the gun range, because I'm pretty sure it was the like Olympic one. And then after the Olympics, what do? You open it up to the public for practice. And yeah, they were trying to get me to take it up as a sport, because my hand's steady and I showed some promise there. It's just like, it's so far away from my house, for one thing. I mean, I think at the time I was living out west with my ex, but no, even then it was quite a distance away. And then I just don't think it would be a good idea for someone like me to have a lot of access to a gun, because I do get depressed and I do get a bit suicidal, and in the past I was a bit like, if I was gonna kill myself, I'd probably use a gun. So it's probably a good idea for me not to be anywhere near them, except in that sort of situation where it's supervised and someone else is loading stuff and keeping an eye on it. Yeah, I don't think, when you own a gun in Australia, you're supposed to lock it up in certain ways. And I think maybe at that gun range, you're supposed to lock it up there if you own a gun, for sporting reasons. But yeah, I just feel like, no, and I don't know that I really want to be doing that as once it becomes a sport, instead of just trying to shoot the target, then you've actually got to train and you've got all this pressure to get it right all the time instead of just having fun. And I don't know that that's me. So, yeah. And then I think that for me, the novelty would wear off after a while. Who lives in the west of Australia? Oh no, when I say out west, I mean the west of Sydney. Yeah, Sydney is we might not have a large population, but we do have this urban sprawl. So our population's spread over. Uh-oh, I'm running out of power already. Whoops, let me just get my charger. Yeah. Yeah, no, Western Sydney. Sorry. I did have full power, but on the other hand, maybe the phone was lying to me, because I was filming a Let's Play just before this. Yes, okay, we're charging. Yeah, no, I was playing that Let's Play, but it went back up to 100%, but I guess maybe 100% isn't as 100% as it used to be, because phones get old, batteries get old. And then you have to dispose of them somehow, and that's what I'm concerned with the renewable energies. But anyway, that's back to the guns. No, back to Western Sydney. Oh my god, I had a warm spot on the carpet and now I don't because I've had to move over to this corner so I can have power. Sad face. Western Sydney. So, Sydney has like all these different parts. I think just because of urban sprawl. I think like Tokyo is a bigger city. Definitely, because when I visit my family is sort of the north part of Greater Tokyo, I think. But because Japan's transport system is a lot better, it's a lot faster to get around. So it's like, what, an hour by train to the center of Tokyo. But it's a bit like that. So when I say out west, I mean Western Sydney. Yeah, well, and like the different parts of Sydney have different reputations and different stereotypes. So Western Sydney, what, Bogans, I guess, is the stereotype there. Northern Sydney is more of the sort of posh kinds of people. Southern Sydney, what, the Shire? What would you characterize that? I guess like the beach kind of people, but yeah, everyone's annoying in their own little way. Well, it's time for the sniper ending again. Yeah, well, what time is it? 3:50. So yeah, I don't know what time Mikey's gonna get home, but yeah, I'm gonna have to cook him some tortellini at about 5 o'clock. What's today? Today's Friday. Who's looking after him on a Friday? Yeah, okay. Well, we could end up with a very abrupt ending again. It's just like, yeah, no, my battery got down to 15%, and I don't know why, because yeah, it's not like the screen has been very bright or anything, but maybe it's just my phone sort of gradually wearing out, you know, with the lithium batteries. They do eventually run out. I hope the phone lasts a few more years, because I don't really like having to spend more money on technology and phones. It took me a long time to convert to smartphones anyway. I mean, if you've seen, my phone before this phone was a Nokia 3315, and the only other phone I had before that was a Nokia 3310, so I basically upgraded half a model, I don't know when, and I was using my brother's old phone. The 3315 used to be his. Do you leave it plugged in overnight or use it below 5%? That reduces the total battery life you have when fully charged. No, my phone's almost always plugged in because I don't use it very much. I don't go out very much. But I was using it earlier today, and maybe it said it was 100%, but maybe it wasn't actually quite 100%, because I've been noticing it seems to charge really fast sometimes with this cable that I'm using. The Samsung cables are shit, I gotta say. And when I compare them to this Belkin cable that I have, the plug is actually slightly different size. That the phone can stream for 2 hours is a miracle. Oh, okay. Keeping it plugged in on full charge is a bad thing. Well, what can you do? I've heard that you want to keep the phone at about 80%, but it's just not practical. So, oh my god, the internet is telling me to go away. Am I still alive? It just did that reconnecting thing. Oh my god, that's so funny, especially because we're talking about batteries and so on, and then it just decides to die. Yeah, no, still live, buffered for a moment. Yeah, oh my god. Oh my god, that's the fun thing about live streaming on Australian internet. I think though, we got a bit of a boost to our upload speed randomly one day, but it's a little bit inconsistent, so sometimes it goes back to the normal upload speed. And yeah. But no, phones with lithium batteries, I think 80% is just a little interruption. 80% is roughly what you want it to be at for, you know, best battery life, but it's not practical. Like, you know, you can't just keep unplugging it every time it gets to 80%, and then what? Once you unplug it, it starts discharging again, so, you know, you can't really do that. But I've heard that keeping it fully charged is better than letting it completely run out, so I opt for fully charged, just because, hey, yeah. Oh man. So we're plugged into the wall and I have to sit awkwardly this way. But yeah, I don't know how much longer I have to live stream, so if anyone wants to chuck a quick last minute question before I have to run away and answer the door, now is your chance. Otherwise, what were we talking about before? I don't even remember. My brain gets so funny with these live streams, I can't remember what I was saying. Well, we were talking about shooting guns, because I've done that, and that was okay, but I didn't want to do it as a sport. My phone till it explodes. Oh my god. Yeah, no, with the phones, like, the reason I got this phone, I bought it outright. I don't like phone plans. I bought it outright, so it cost me, once you add in all the accessories, maybe about 1,300 Aussie dollars, I think. Because I wanted to Nokia-fy it, so I've got this decent portable battery that I hardly use now that I don't play Pokemon Go. And I've also got the OtterBox military grade case on it. So to me, that makes it, you know, the Nokia long battery life and indestructibility. That's how I handled that. Yeah, and for me, like, I like to spend big money up front and then have the device last as long as possible. So I'm hoping I do get a couple more years out of this before I have to replace it. Because the other thing is, it took me a long time to switch over to smartphones because I didn't like, I just like the Galaxy S5, for example, the way they promoted that, I think that one, they're like, oh, we've got a heart rate monitor on the back. And I'm like, whoop-de-fucking-do. I don't care. The S7 Edge, the S7 series, S7 Edge, S7, that's the first ones where I was like, okay, this is all about features and not about these wanky extras. And it happened to come around at the right time for me as well. So I was happy spending money on this. But, you know, when you look at modern phones, like, sometimes they just go through these cycles of all this extra bullshit, and I'm just like, that doesn't impress me. Just give me a phone with features. I don't need all this extra garbage, and I don't need you to think that your extra garbage is the main selling point of the phone. Like, yes, this one has the same heart rate feature, but it's not the main selling point of the phone. So yeah, I find phones a lot harder to buy than computers, because like, phones are so full of wanky extras. It's like Nintendo, you know, every time Nintendo releases a console, there's always these wanky extras. How much is that in real money? It's probably about 1,000 US. I mean, it depends. At the time, the exchange rate was different, so I don't know exactly. And at the moment, the exchange rate's pretty bad at the moment, so yeah, I don't know. I think that's one of the results of the Chinese trade thing is our dollar's going down, but that means our exports go up. So it's like balance, you know, some things are good, some things are bad. Imports are more expensive for us, but exports are doing well, and I think that's how we have a trade surplus. So yeah, that whole Trump versus China thing has so far worked out well for Australia, but in the long run may end up biting us in the bum because you know, the global economy, blah, blah. And we've got our own economic problems at the moment, so what can you do? Anyway, no, I hope my phone lasts a long time, and I'm pretty happy with it. You know, considering that it's a phone, I did not expect the video quality and audio quality to be as good as it is. Like, it's a phone, so it's not going to be perfect, but I was just like, wow, this is a lot better than I expected it to be, so I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah, I don't use many apps though. I don't feel like I'm really making the most of the smartphone features just because like I'm so used to having a dumb phone that it hasn't occurred to me to use some of the features of the smartphone. So every now and then I learn something new and I'm like, oh, that's how I do that. I didn't even know my phone could do that. So yeah, interesting experience for me. My first smartphone ever and I'm still using it. Oh my god, 13 years of a dumb phone. That was pretty good, playing Snake and, no, what was that, Bantumi or something kind of game on there? I don't know. It's sort of like a numbers puzzle game. I got pretty good at that. Probably boring to most people, but for me, I thought that was pretty good. Yeah. Wow, phones. They come a long way, hey. A Sony phone. Yeah, Sony's a pretty good brand. I'm not sure what their phones are like. I think I have a friend who used to have a Sony. But yeah, no, Sony's pretty solid. It's just that they're so expensive, you know? I want one of their Aibos. Not the current model of Aibo, though. You know, the robot dogs? The current model to me is a bit ugly. Like, it would be fine, but they have this faceplate that looks almost like a skull, but not in a fun way. They're trying to be cute, but it just doesn't work for me. I want an ERS 210, probably a 210A because the hardware was a bit better. Although these days, if they remade the ERS 210, I would get that. I really want one. I wanted one when I was really little. That was the whole reason I was going to go into robotics originally, I think. And the only reason I was interested in pink at all because IBO are programmed to respond to pink objects more than other objects. So yeah, that's Sony's robot dog. The original robot dog, the ERS 110, actually looked like a dog with floppy ears. So they've sort of kept that style mostly. There was that macaroon series where they had like the pug style, which were really ugly. But the floppy dog ears. So ERS 110, ERS 7, and then the current one, I don't know what number they've given that. Those ones are all the floppy-eared dogs. But I liked the ERS 210 because it had the pointy ears and they intentionally made it sort of vague. So it's like a lion cub, so that if you were a dog lover, you could see it as a dog, but if you're a cat lover, you could see it as a cat. And I just liked that sort of lion look more than the others. What are you guys saying? Expensive phones. A canine. Yeah, apparently Sony wanted to call the IBO canine, but that was already taken by Doctor Who, so they couldn't do it for copyright reasons or something like that. I don't know. So they went with IBO instead. And I wish they hadn't shut down the program, but I guess at the time the economics of Sony weren't so good and interest in robotics sort of fell, and then now it's picked up again. But it's a real shame because Sony's Curio, that was their humanoid, if they had kept up with development of that, oh my god, that would have been amazing. Because I think Curio, is it Curio or Honda? Honda's also got Asimo, which is was quite good. But I think Curio might have been the first humanoid robot that was able to run in such a way that both feet left the ground while it was running, instead of that sort of awkward fast walking. It would actually run like a human in terms of lifting both feet off the ground for in between the steps. Yeah, whereas now, like, oh my god, fucking RoboCup. RoboCup is where they're trying to, by 2050, I think, they want to have a robot team play soccer against a human team. I don't think we're going to make it. And back in the day, I originally wanted to go to UNSW because they were champions in RoboCup using IBO as the robots playing soccer against each other. But now there's more of an emphasis on humanoid robots. But instead of Curio, they use Now, I think. NAO. Now. It's a fucking shit robot. It's the one that, like, anytime on the news where they're like, oh, we're gonna use robots to help people with autism or something. It's always that fucking, I hate it so much. And when it's on the field, it just shuffles around because it's actually kind of a cheap robot and it's kind of garbage, but they're using it in these RoboCup events. And I'm like, no, get Sony to bring back Curio, because Curio actually had probably the best chance of those miniature humanoid robots of actually being able to play soccer in a way that kind of resembles humans, But no, they're using Now, and I'm just like, oh, when I found that out, I researched robots again because we were doing an assignment in exhibition design at uni that would have been maybe my first semester, so 3 years ago. So I got my refresher in robotics, and just seeing where things are up to, I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't go into robotics because I'm so disappointed with our progress, because it's not gone as far as it should have in the amount of time that's passed. And the biggest disappointment for me with Sony's IBO robot is the battery life isn't any better. I thought we were making progress on batteries, but no. The current ERS, whatever, I haven't paid attention. Was it the ERS 1000 or something? I don't know. The current Sony robot, IBO robot, has the same battery life they had 20 years ago. I'm just like, that is ridiculous. I mean, it has roughly the same number of moving parts, so I don't understand why they couldn't have improved it. I mean, I guess they've refined some things about the movement so that it has some more realistic moves, but I don't feel like it's enough that it should be using, I'm just disappointed. I wanted them to have a longer battery life, but now, I mean, they can self-charge better than they used to, by the looks of things, but, yeah, I'm just disappointed. So every 2 hours they're gonna have to sit down on the charger. But also I don't like the design of the robot, so hey, ERS 210A, that's the robot for me. Hybrid robots. Oh well. You know, we'll see. I just like the technology's not moving fast enough. I mean, if you think about it, what, in the 70s? Think about what they thought today would be like back in the 70s. The 70s is now 50 years ago, and in 50 years, what is my hair doing? In 50 years, we have not reached what they thought we would reach. Oh, okay, I see. There was that robot. There used to be this robot that ate slugs. I think they had to change it because some animal rights group was like, you shouldn't do that to slugs. And I'm like, it's a slug! But it would hunt the slugs and pick them up and put them in its like backpack or whatever, and it would turn into biofuel. And I think actually they've been trying to, I think they were developing it for farms, and I'm not sure if that went on to actually become something practical, but using robotics as a way to destroy those pests. And if you think about, like, I don't agree with a lot of stuff in the organic industry, but that's one thing you could do if you were intent on being an organic farmer, is get robots to pick off all those little dudes. Yeah, Boston Dynamics has some crazy robots, yeah. They had a clock that runs on flies. Yeah, Boston Dynamics has some good stuff. It's just like, for me, I think what's going on with them is physically the robots are impressive, but in terms of, I'm just wondering if I could hear something, in terms of how the robots are controlled, in terms of like their brains are actually outside, and you know, there's these massive set of computers that are sending instructions to the robot to tell it what to do. And I think we are done, because that sounds like Mike going ha ha outside. But yeah, no, so with Boston Dynamics robots, they don't have self-contained processors. I think they're being told wirelessly by other computers what to do, and for me that's what's disappointing about them. But they are making progress on the physical, and I've got to go. Bye guys.